So much Harley Davidson in the news these days, and for all the wrong reasons. But this is an evolving situation, and it appears on a certain level that a victory has been won. Harley Davidson has announced that it's begrudgingly that it's going to scale back on some of its more controversial social stances, programs. It's going to scale back. And on the surface, that looks like a good thing. It looks like we won. And there's lots of people taking victory laps. Yes, we got them to back away from the whole DEI thing. But this is classic misdirection. And it's not just Harley Davidson. This is all of these companies. All of these, quote, woke companies. This is not about furthering a social agenda. This is about furthering a social agenda to keep everybody bickering, to keep everybody off guard, off balance, pitted against each other, and mostly so that they don't notice what is actually going on. So the DEI thing. Now you have to understand something, right? There are gay bikers out there. There are trans bikers out there. And like in other segments of society that are also affected by these movements, they're all face planting. They're like, no, why? Why are you doing this? Why are you creating problems for me? I just want to live my life. I just want to be who I am and do my thing and enjoy my motorcycle or my tractor or whatever it happens to be. Why are they doing this? The vast majority of people that fall under that alternative lifestyle heading, they're not radicals. They're like you and me in that they're just trying to get through life, being whoever they are. And they reject this nonsense with the pronouns and all of this other stuff. You can be sure of that. But that's besides the point. The purpose of this all is to create a show, to create a distraction, to get the public to say, oh, this is crazy. They're having trans furries read satanic bedtime stories for infants in unisex bathrooms. Right? That's what they want. What the powers that be. And I have to be careful with the way I word things, right? So around the globe, people, let's call them worldists so that we don't, okay? You have to understand something about these worldists. They have no allegiance to any particular country or any particular region or any particular religion or any particular nationality. They're in it for power, for whatever reasons, right? Whatever their reason is. Okay, so maybe they're all megalomaniacs. Maybe they've got an evil agenda. I wouldn't argue with this. I would not argue with that. But it's not about money. It's about control. They have money. They don't need to have money. They make the money. They create it. They create the money out of nothing, right? And the general public is starting to figure this out now. It's taken a long time, but they're starting to put it all together. These worldists, their modus operandi is to go from region to region around the world over the course of time, sometimes generations, and milk that area for whatever it's worth. And America was one of those places for a long time, for at least the last 100, 150 years. But now they're done with America. And now they've moved on to Asia. They've moved on to China. They've moved on to places like Thailand, Africa. They're moving away from us. They're abandoning us, and what they're doing is they're turning out the lights as they leave. Okay? And that is what's going on, and that's what's going on with Harley Davidson. So now these are the banks. These are the big institutions that control these companies. They're the ones who appoint the board members. And then the board members, let's not worry about the pecking order, right? These worldists, these world banks are the ones that appoint the boards to these various corporations that set the policies. And not just corporations, but also in government. All right? And what they've done is they've taken the most radical, unhinged, insane, crazy, over the top, 3 to 5% of the population, put them in positions of power and authority, and let them do their thing. And you can see this all over. You can see this in all these different corporations. You can see it in the media. You can see it everywhere. This is what they've been doing forever. But it's becoming obvious now, and they don't care anymore. They cared about us knowing their game years ago, when they were still milking us, when they were still using this as the place, right? Okay, we'll manufacture everything there. We'll make war from everything, right? We'll do it all from this home base, and then when we're done with that home base, we'll move on to another one. And that's what's happening right now. That's what's legitimately happening with China. It's not the Chinese people or the legitimate Chinese government. It's the overlords of the Chinese government, which are the same overlords we have over this government and all of these other governments. Is this not completely obvious to you people? But let's forget about the big picture. Let's just focus on Harley Davidson and why the battle is not won, and why this guy Zeitz has to go, the CEO Zeitz, because Zeitz was put in a position in that company to disassemble it. And this is exactly what he's doing right now. So Zeitz joined the company was placed on the board in 2007. His previous experience of Puma shoes, it doesn't make any difference. He has a view that aligns with what the worldists want, okay? So in other words, like, he's a radical. He's a radical person. It goes against what would be called traditional values, traditional ideals, right? He's one of those people, and he wears it proudly. By putting him and others like him in the positions that they're in, on the boards of these major corporations, and then giving them the basic marching orders, right? The marching orders is, DEI and what's the HSC, whatever it is, doesn't make any difference, right? Promote all of these programs. We want this loud and proud. Yes, put somebody in charge of public relations that wants transgender furries to read satanic bedtime stories to infants in unisex bathrooms. Put that person in charge of, okay? That's how this works. And the purpose of it is to keep us all off balance. I'm repeating myself, I know, but I have to repeat myself. So Zeitz, he joins the board in 2007. Now Harley Davidson is literally at the top of its game. It's like right after the 100th anniversary of 2003. They have their machines perfected, okay? Stuff was sketchy in the past. It leaked oil. It was unreliable. It was unpleasant in a lot of ways, unappealing to a lot of regular buyers, right? You had to really love and need that Harley Davidson thing previous. Let's go back to the 60s, the 70s, the 80s. Come the 90s, and again, a peak at about 2000, their 100th anniversary, the early 2000s. Maximum gain. All of the bugs have been worked out of their various engines and drivetrains, and the bugs have been worked out. And these bikes were reliable and world-class. And they had a foothold in the sport bike world with the Buells. Now, the Buell, it was literally the first step. When Zeitz came in, like I said, in 2007, Buell was a viable and growing segment of Harley Davidson. And it was a real viable sport bike. Now, I literally rode here just now. I literally rode here on a Buell. So, I mean, I'm familiar with these things, okay? Fantastic motorcycles. A little quirky, a little weird, okay? Full of character, the way you expect a Harley Davidson to be, full of character, but a completely competent motorcycle that, with enough effort from the mother corporation, could have been a world contender, could have gone head-to-head with, forget about the Yamahas and the Kawasaki's and the Hondas, could have gone head-to-head with Ducati. The potential was there. But 2009, after Zeitz and the rest of this board came into power, nope, no, get rid of them. We don't need that. We don't need sport bikes. We just need traditional motorcycles. And so they axed Buell, which was one of the biggest, most short-sighted mistakes anybody could possibly make, unless you really wanted to kneecap the company and avoid it having a presence, a viable presence in that international sport bike market. It was there. The potential was there. All right, so move forward a couple of years. The Sportster comes under fire. Now, the Sportster always has been the foundation that Harley Davidson was built on. It's the beginner's bike. It's the chick bike. I know. I get all of that, right? But Sportsters sold in greater numbers than any other motorcycle. They were all of the R&D, all of the tooling, everything to produce these motorcycles, with evolutionary steps from 1952, the K model, and then right up until the ones that they just recently canceled, the Evos that they just canceled last year. The tooling was there. These bikes were perfected. They could sell them at a price point that the average person could buy from. And they were made in America. Everything was made in America. That's a big part of the whole Harley Davidson thing, made in America pride. So what happens right around 2014? I might be missing it by a year or two, maybe 13 or whatever. They introduce the Street Series, the Street 500, the Street 750, as the potential, or let's say the intended replacement for the Sportster, which was still a 45-degree air-cooled V-twin at this time. So the Street Series, I got to tell you, they were nice bikes, clean bikes. They performed very well. They were definitely an evolutionary step beyond the Sportster. But they were liquid cooled, they were very refined. They weren't the 45-degree, the traditional paint shaper 45-degree V-twin. But they weren't made here, they were made in India. So under the board that Zeitz was part of, they were already trying to eliminate the Made in America Sportster, the simple, basic Made in America Sportster, and replace it with an Indian-made bike, which the general public rejected. I think if any other manufacturer had imported, I'd put their nameplate on those street bikes, they would have sold. If Honda had done it, only I think Honda has far too much class to do that, right? But if Honda had done it, they would have sold well. If Yamaha had done it, they would have sold well. Harley Davidson, they're not going to sell well because they didn't match that Harley Davidson charisma that Harley Davidson riders are after. Forget about the fact that they were made in another country and just imported. Do you see where we're going with this? Right? Now, at the same time this happens, and if I was a Harley Davidson shareholder, and I'm not, if I was a Harley Davidson shareholder, I would have been gritting my teeth and going crazy and looking at class action lawsuits all the way around, all along this time, because it's apparent that the company is trying to kneecap itself. So, at the same time that they introduced this Street 500, Street 750 series, and they're scaling back on the Sportster, they kind of like stopped development on it, there's a promotion on it. Out of the blue comes Royal Enfield. Now, Royal Enfield has been around since before Harley Davidson, 1901. It was originally a British company, and it moved to India. And from the late 1940s, they produced the same motorcycle, the Bullet. They did it in two versions, the Bullet 350 and the Bullet 500. And this was a single-cylinder engine, right? Classic British-inspired thumper. When the Indians took it over, they just kept building that motorcycle. Loaded with character. Much the same way the Sportster was loaded with character. At the same time that Harley Davidson is starting to get away from this traditional, small, affordable cruiser standard market, Royal Enfield comes in and fills the void. They revamp the Bullet, and they create the classic 350 and a bunch of other motorcycles along those lines. And suddenly, Royal Enfield is an international darling. They're selling these motorcycles as fast as they could build them. Not so much here in this country. They do sell a fair amount here in this country, but all over the world. Now, Royal Enfield didn't have the clout, let's just say the name recognition, that Harley Davidson had. Now, if Harley Davidson had taken the Sportster, the tried and true traditional, all bugs worked out Sportster, they could have removed a cylinder, right? Because people were looking for that thumper, that simplicity of the thumper. Lightweight, small, manageable, happy city bike, right, that you could take on a nice quiet ride through the country. That's the niche that Royal Enfield filled with the classic 350. Harley Davidson could have done a slight restyling on the Sportster, making it a little less swoopy and a little more traditional English type of bike, that kind of style, standard, more traditional standard style. They could have done what Buell did 15 years before, 20 years before, and removed the rear cylinder. That's what Buell did when they came out with the Blast, which was an entry-level bike that Harley Davidson put absolutely no effort behind promoting or they could have removed the back cylinder from the 883 Sportster motor, stuck it in a frame that was more styled to that British standard, and Royal Enfield never would have had a chance. Harley Davidson could have owned that portion of the retro standard cruiser market, could have owned it because the name recognition was there, the clout was there. And instead, Harley Davidson turned its back on that entire market, and Royal Enfield rushed in, filled the void, and now they're a formidable motorcycle company. Similar thing happened with the adventure bikes. So Harley Davidson had no adventure bike. They could have had a really nice adventure bike with the Sportster, which was what the Sportster was originally intended to be. The Sportster was originally intended as a scrambler type of bike, and going back to its 1950s, right? That was originally, in fact, it was advertised that way too. You know, a lot of Sportster models you could buy that didn't even come with a headlight, right? There was no electronics, just knobby tires and go. That was a standard Sportster model in 1957, 1958. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The adventure bike market starts to take off. Royal Enfield uses the basis of what they've already created with the revamped Classic 350 line. They make a slightly bigger engine, the 450, and they do the Himalayan. And because it's a simple motorcycle that has a simple light motorcycle, simple light friendly motorcycle that has already paid for, already established tooling, research and development, they were able to put this thing at a sub $5,000 price point. Though the Himalayan is the go-to beginner adventure bike, they sell tons of these things. What did Harley Davidson do? The exact opposite. They come up with the Pan America, a $20,000 overstuffed, overbuilt, overweight, overtech answer to the adventure bike market. They can sell, I mean, how many do they sell, right? I don't even think they sell that many of them. I don't see them around. I saw them when they first came out. You see them here and there. I don't see them around at all. I see Himalayans everywhere. I don't see any of these Pan Americans. So once again, moves made, decisions made by the Harley Davidson board, which included Zeitz before he was a CEO, once again, let Harley Davidson, which had an amazing foothold on that entry-level standard cruiser potential adventure bike with the Sportster, the Evo Sportster, let it go. Royal Enfield is only where it is today because Harley Davidson abandoned that market. All right, so then we come to the line, now Zeitz becomes the CEO, right? What does he do as soon as he becomes the CEO? Sportster's gone, Evo Sportster is gone. Again, the bread and butter motorcycle, the most affordable, the most established, the most recognized Harley Davidson of all time. Nah, it's gone. Nah, we don't need that. That's antiquated technology. A lot of excuses were made for this having to do with, oh, it's not going to meet the Euro 5 emission standards, whatever it happened to be. Well, how come Royal Enfield can do it? They do it with the singles and the twins. They can do it, but Harley Davidson couldn't do it. Now they got to scrap this entire simple, established, friendly, happy, affordable motorcycle. And no, let's do the Sportster S and the Nightster. And so you're getting the general idea, right? All along, Harley Davidson is narrowing its potential reach. It's crushing its potential market share, and going upscale on all of its offerings. Because now you can't just walk into a Harley Davidson dealership and buy a stripper Sportster for $7,500. No, now they start at like $12,000 or $13,000 and work their way up from there. And they're doing this at a time when inflation is killing the middle class. And part of this Part of this whole overall movement is the extermination of the middle class. They do not want, the worldists do not want a middle class. They want a worker class. They want people who are dependent on them. They don't want independence. They don't want any of those things that embody the spirit of the Harley Davidson or the do-it-yourself mechanic, right? No, we want these people completely gone. We want a much, much smaller population, and we want them dependent on the system. Why do they want this? Are they just control freaks? Are they just megalomaniacs? Are they evil? You figure that one out, right? You figure that one out. But that's their goal, and that's where they're at right now. Now, Zeitz has been ahead of this curve, or part of this disassembling of this company since 2007. Now he's a CEO. And now, on top of that, the Sportster S, the Nightster, anything that's put with that Rev Max engine, the Revolution Max engine now, and the Pan American, are all going to be made in Thailand. They're shipping jobs off to Thailand. American jobs. The American motorcycle company, but no, now they're shipping off the jobs, closing plants, gutting what's left of not only the Harley Davidson legacy, the Harley Davidson brand, what the brand really means to people. They're choking that off everywhere they possibly can, and they're moving jobs over to Thailand. They're taking jobs away from fellow Americans. This is a problem, and this was the ultimate goal. Not this, furries and all of this craziness. That had nothing to do with it. That was about keeping us occupied, watching YouTube videos, watching, the news, and paying attention to this. Yeah, get them, shut them down, right? And then, of course, the people on the other side of they're bigots. They hate anybody who isn't like them. That was the whole purpose of this. That was the whole purpose of this fury that went on over the last few weeks, that we were a part of, actually. Well, because we did have that conversation with Robbie Starbuck. And congratulations, Robbie, you did accomplish what you set out to accomplish. But that's just a small part of it. The bigger picture is one that nobody's talking about. It's the elephant in the room. This guy Zeitz is still the CEO. Zeitz not only is moving jobs over to Thailand, right, taking food out of Americans' mouths to send them over to Thailand, but he's also a net zero guy. He is self-described as the Taliban of sustainability. His goal, his immediate goal, is to electrify the Harley Davidson brand beginning around 2030. This is his goal. This is his stated goal. This is his mission. As long as he's in there, his job, his intent is to disassemble everything that's left of this company's traditional base, its traditional values, its traditional enthusiasts. He doesn't care about you guys. His job is to demoralize you. His job is to sweep you aside, get rid of you. So a lot of it is under the guise of moving it to become a more exclusive brand. This guy is nuts. This guy is nuts. Is he evil? I wouldn't say he wasn't. Like if you presented the case that this is an evil guy, I wouldn't say you're wrong. I'm not going to say that he is, but I'm not going to say you're wrong. But his job is to destroy the company. His job is to eliminate the original, again, see, anything that we can hold on to, right? What was that George Orwell thing about conquering a population? The first thing you do is you make them forget their history. And that's you look at the trends that have been going on with all of these companies, all of these media outlets, all of these the news, television shows, commercials. All of this is intended to make us forget who we are or who we were, so that we'll accept what they want us to be. This has been an ongoing thing for at least the last 50 years, and it's all in high gear now, because it's at the end game, and they don't care anymore if we know it. They don't care, right? Because the job is already done, right? we're at an economic point of no return. It's that simple. So they just don't care anymore. This is like the cleanup. This is just like the sweep up deal. And they sent their psychos with the brooms to do the job. That's really all this is. Zeitz, to have a true victory, to secure this company and secure American legacy, American jobs, he has to go. That freaking toaster strudel has got to be sent back to commie land with a one-way ticket, and somebody who understands, a true American, and they don't have to have been born here. I'm not even like that, right? They could be an immigrant, as long as that immigrant has the values that we hold dear in America. Conceive, believe, achieve. Rugged individualism. These are the things that are important. These are the things that made us great. This is where our power and our strength come from. I don't care where the CEO of a corporation was born, as long as they embody that spirit. See what I'm saying? And Zeitz does not. He's got to go. So, everybody's taking a victory lap now over we're not going to do DEI anymore, and drag time stories. You're not done, guys. You're not done. The bigger battle has yet to be fought. We're going to take a lot of bruises along the way. This I'm certain of. Economic bruises, social bruises, things are happening in this country that are just completely over the top. It's going to be bad. But if we can somehow or another collectively grab a hold of that traditional American spirit, conceive, believe, achieve, right? Balls. And you talk about that, right? I see so many content creators that are in this space, okay? The automotive, motorcycle space, that wrap themselves in the American flag as, values and tradition and America, America, America. And they've been completely silent on all of this stuff. You people are freaking worms. There are others out there that have stepped up that I really wouldn't have expected to, but did, and they did it in a some of them have done it in a fairly dramatic, over-the-top way. Columbia Horror Machine. But the point is, they're joining the fight, because this is a fight. This is a battle, and it's not over. Zeitz has got to go. That whole board has got to go. I know boycotting and I know it hurts the dealerships. I know these poor people have nothing to do with this. I know the mechanics have nothing to do with this. I know the salespeople have nothing to do with this. I feel for them, but this is a bigger thing. This is a much bigger picture. It's not over. It's not time to relax. Now, I never, ever, ever ask anybody to like, subscribe, or share any of our videos. I find that to be weak. I don't want to do that. Please like me, please share. I'll never do that. But I'm going to make the exception this one time about sharing, because I think this is a message that really has to get out. Share this video and share it with other content creators that may light a fire under their ass and get them to speak up and say something. Harley Davidson is not just a motorcycle company. Harley Davidson, as Americans, Harley Davidson is us, right? It's always been us. It's been good, it's been bad, it's been rough around the edges, it's fallen on its face, it's been picked up, it's been at the top of the game. Harley Davidson represents us. You don't have to be a motorcycle person. You could care less about it, but if you're an American, traditional, and you know what? You don't even have to be an American to be an American, right? You could be a Canadian and be an American. You could be a Mexican and be an American. You could be anything and be an American, because it's an ideal. It's not just a country. It's not just a government or an organization. It's an ideal. You see what I'm saying? American exceptionalism. I know. I always used to frown on that whole concept. But as things get crazier and crazier as time goes on, I'm really starting to understand that, for a brief period of time there, we really, really were exceptional. And now we're sad, right? Let's fix this. All right, I've been ranting for almost a half hour. I'm a half hour now. If you stuck around this long, thank you. Tomorrow we'll get back to regular content. I'll see you tomorrow.